And we both both have our start, at least, when it came down to the Second Amendment, when it was under threat. But
Yes.
and now let me just ask you, there's been reports that with the UN Arms Treaty and stuff, President Obama says he'll sign it, then he says he won't sign it, then he'll sign it. Is the Second Amendment safe, or is it still under threat?
Of course not. There's no way is it safe.
Okay.
The same as our borders are never safe. We've got to be on guard at the borders. We're not going to, just because someone says Korea says that they're not going to attack us. Are we going to take them for their word? No, we're going to continue to be alert and be aware of what's going on. So yes, we have to be vigilant. And by vigilant, I don't mean out to get somebody. What I really mean is on top of everything, and be alert and be aware of what's going on. And all goes back to that. The thing that I'm pushing really heavy is education. We have to be educated.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. The reason I asked if it was still safe or not is because there's an actual quote or a panel discussion on Fox News when they're talking about the arms treaty, and the question was asked, do gun owners have anything to worry about, with this arms treaty? And basically everyone, all the newscasters said no, because the Constitution would trump the treaty. But for some reason I don't see that working. I mean, I see I see a big conflict of interest right there.
Right. Well, there's been a lot of things that's happened within our country and in our government that I thought would never happen before, and they've already happened. So, do we need to stay aware? Do we need to stay alert with all of it? Of course, absolutely. Don't trust that somebody is not going to try to do that. And and if they did, look at the problems that they would cause within our country. I mean, it would be horrible. Catastrophic.
Right, exactly. And you talk about the Second Amendment. However, there other rights as well. As you educate, I'm sure, people on that are being violated. Almost every day. So you got the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. I think the only amendment that hasn't been screwed with is the Third Amendment, and really, that's about housing and having soldiers housed, being in your house or something.
Right.
Or having, yeah. So I think that's the only amendment in the top, in the Bill of Rights that hasn't been messed around with.
That's right.
In some way, shape, or form. But now, obviously, the Second Amendment is very important because, I believe it protects all the rest of the amendments.
I agree too, 100%. There's no doubt about that.
But other than the Second Amendment, what would you say is the next, the one amendment that we need to protect as well?
Well, of course, our freedom of speech. I mean, that's very important in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, that's to me, that's right up there with it. Of course, I feel that the second is what helps to protect all the other amendments.
Right.
And that's what, in my opinion, makes it the most important.
Okay, and now we do have a question in the chat room here. So for those of you listening, if you want to head over to the chat room, we do have a live chat going on. It's over at Spreaker.com, and you can go over there and sign up for a free account and get in on the live chat, or we can also open up the phone lines and Skype lines for your questions. Call-in number is area code 507-216-7672. Again, that number is 507-216-7672. The Skype ID is the.resistance 1775. Again, it's the.resistance 1775. Call in with your questions for Colt or comments or anything like that. But one of the questions in the chat room here, Colt, is so what's the difference in the states having and promoting their own gun safety classes and what you do?
I'm not really. I guess I don't understand the question. What was it again?
I don't really understand it either. What's the difference in states having and promoting their own gun safety classes, and what you do?
Actually, I'm all for that. I mean, they definitely need to do their own safety classes and that kind of thing. And I feel like that's very important. You know, I feel like what we do is we are a sounding board, you know, and we put out information. And if that information can help you go to get the other information that you need, I think that that's important. So what I mean by that is I do not think that our, the Outlaw Gang main page, so to speak, is your only source of information. You know, I mean, you need to go elsewhere as well. You know, and in order to get all the education that you need as far as all that goes.
Right. Well, yeah, and
that's how I feel.
Right. Well, and that's how everyone should approach things is, you know, not taking it at face value or anything. You know, going out and actually researching it and finding out for yourself. You know, don't.
Yeah, because number one, gun laws for each state vary. So you definitely need to be in tune with what the gun laws are for your particular state. You know, and so by all means, most definitely, get trained on at least know your laws for your state, if nothing else. You know. But as far as your basics of safety, you know, gun safety and just good common sense, you know, I mean, that's pretty cut and dry, you know. And in my opinion, it's not taught enough, you know, and that kind of thing. So.
Right. Well, yeah, and it could be, you know, some, I don't know, maybe some parents, you know, don't feel teaching their kids about guns is right, or. But you know, you talk.
That's an interesting thing that you said. That most definitely, and obviously, I taught my son from a very early age.
Right.
You know, and you know, we've had lots of kids come to our house. You know, and you know, no, we didn't have guns out. You know, and that kind of thing. And you know, I've always been very much a stickler about, you know, the rules around that. And Dylan, my son, has always been very good about, you know, not about following all the rules and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you know, we've had to deal with some parents that, you know, they knew what we did, you know, and you know, they were maybe a little bit apprehensive about it. But once they spent a little time around this and they really realized what it was all about, they started coming around, you know, and they started understanding that, hey, this was not about crazy people or about anything like that. It was our sport. It was our fun. You know, it's what we do, you know, and so.
Right.
That,
well, and
you know, they started understanding it a lot better, and that all I was doing was educating those people. You know?
Right. And some in the liberal media may go as far as to say that, you know, parents like you are what, you know raises, you know, these schoolroom shooters.
No, absolutely not. Those are that's completely wrong. You know, because
I know it's wrong.
No, I know that. What I'm yes, they would use that, and that's the obvious go-to thing for them. You know, because you know, the people that are capable of doing it are the ones that'll do it. You know. The one thing that I did with my son is the same thing that happened with me, is all the intrigue was gone around guns. You know, there was nothing taboo about it that made it appealing, you know, or, you know, wanted to sneak around. My son never had to sneak around with me with that kind of stuff, you know. And so he, with making it teaching it to him so that he could actually understand it and understand what they're all about, and then understand the good and the bad and the indifferent with it. It was so very important. And it was instilled in him at a very early age, and in my opinion, he was a very fortunate kid. As far as that goes, and it's the people that are not responsible is the problem. And the people that aren't responsible are the ones that need to be educated, and they need to be, definitely governed, or watched. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. So let me just ask you this, Colt. I'll give you a scenario here, and I guess you tell me what is more at fault, because a lot of children or child deaths that occur in the household are from kids getting a hold of guns and accidentally shooting someone, or shooting themselves, or something like that. Now, in that case, I mean, is it some would say that it's video games or violence in the media, or how guns have been kind of for the bad guys, kind of, or cool or whatever, or is it the parents' fault for not teaching the kids about the gun?
It starts with the parents. In my opinion, it starts with the parents. There's no doubt about that. And there are some sick kids out there. Okay, and I don't. Whenever those issues are not addressed, then that's a recipe for disaster. And there does not need. They don't need to be around them or have access to them. In my opinion, and that's to me that's very important. And then but if the kid is normal, or some semblance of that, and then you take all the mystique away from it and the intrigue, then you no longer have an issue with it. There's nothing, they don't have to prove to everybody that they're a badass because they can touch a gun, or they can handle a gun, or that kind of thing. My son has never been like that, ever. And in fact, we shot around a lot of young people, and and all of them are, the ones that are taught right and taught from a very early age are you don't have to worry about them, because they're very good, solid people, and have been taught.
Okay.
It's the ones that are just left to go wild, and the ones that have mental issues is where you get the problem.
Okay. So now, I guess let me ask you on your take on the Sandy Hook shooting. Just because that's what kind of all started this gun grab thing. Now, a lot of people in the media were saying that guns were the problem. Assault, is specifically AR-15 style weapons. And of course, those of us that are actually smart enough to go out and research it know very well that no AR-15s were ever found. But I guess is it the guns, or was it more of a school safety and mental health issue or something?
Well, it's more of a mental health issue and a school safety issue, obviously. The gun didn't walk in there and do it. And that kind of thing. That there would be, if it wasn't a gun, it would have been something else. There's other ways of killing mass amounts of people without using a gun, as we all saw in 9/11.
Right.
So, if somebody wanted to do it, they could find a way to do it, whether they have access to a gun or not.
Right. Well, so now I guess what's you've been following up on the news with what's going on with the gun grab and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I don't know how deep you get into this, or what you've heard about with UN troops being on U.S. soil and stuff like that. But basically, it's a recipe for disaster is what we're figuring out. And Just like in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina,